All right, I think I'll go ahead and get us started. Yeah, all ready? All right, well, welcome everyone. I'm very excited to join you today on the CSA Ideas Lab around agritourism. And so we're going to be talking today with three great farmers. They're going to share how they're fully utilizing their land and diversifying their CSA through agritourism. So thanks for being here. My name is Michelle Weiler. I'm with the California Association of, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. Community Alliance with Family Farmers. I'm joining you from California, and I am one of the founding members of the CSA Innovation Network. We're a national group. So I think we'll get into the first slides here. Just want to remind you that a couple tech tips here. We're asking you to remain on mute for most of the session, and then we will have an opportunity at the end to have some conversations. You can take yourself off mute, but please use the chat function to ask questions and engage. We'll be monitoring that throughout the webinar. And then we do have some live closed captioning available. You can find that down here on the live transcript on the bottom of your screen if you need to use that. And then just wanted to also remind you all that we are recording this session. So we will be putting it up on our YouTube channel later on. We'll give you some more information about that later today, and you can view it in the future. So we can move to the next slide, Sadie. Thank you. So this is our agenda for today. We're gonna give you a brief overview of the CSA Innovation Network. And then we have three great speakers today. We have Fresh Robertson from Fresher Together out of Chicago. We have Nikki Carangelo from Letterbox Farm out of the Hudson Valley in New York. And then we have Devon Wilson, who's with Sunlight Gardens out of Michigan. And so they have different pieces of agritourism they're going to share with us, and we're excited to learn. Then we'll move into some discussion and Q&A, and then we'll wrap it up. So again, thank you for being here. So the CSA Innovation Network is a national network, and we formed back in 2018. And we really are a base of programs and tools that are built for individuals and organizations who are supporting CSA development. And we really, our main purpose is to kind of generate idea sharing and facilitate idea sharing, kind of like this, really to build awareness of the value of CSAs to consumers, but also to kind of create that community and let folks know that there are resources out there, there are other folks out there, and we can learn from each other. You can go to the next slide, Sadie. I just wanted to kind of ground you in our website really quickly. There's a lot of, you can see here, I pulled up the resource page. There's a lot of resources on this page, on a plethora of topics that can really help you. We've got some marketing materials, e-commerce reports, and then there's all the recordings from the Ideas Labs. We try to do these every 2 months, so there's a lot of great topics in there too. You can go ahead to the next one, Sadie. I just wanted every year around late February, we do a CSA week, and you can see our reach is pretty big here. We're international now, and just again, knowing that there's other folks in the CSA space that are connecting and learning from one another. Yeah, you can go to the next one, Sadie. So I think with that, we will start with Fresh. Really excited for you to be here and sharing your story. So you can jump in.
Thank you, Michelle. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Fresh Robertson. I use they, them, and she, her pronouns. I am from Fresher Together, and I like to call myself a farming chef. So some folks call me Chef Fresh. I've been cooking for maybe almost 17 years now. And in the past few seasons, I've been lucky enough to be able to focus on farming full time and shift away from cooking some. But that kind of plays a key role into kind of how our agritourism looks and will look in the future, and kind of what our goals and things are. So Fresher Together, if we can change the slide, is a collaborative food and farming project for healing, economic development, training, and retreat. And so this is our mission here that we like to say, from soil to humans. We create nourishing food and spaces that are restorative and support well-being. And so that's how we go about things for agritourism. We want to connect folks to the land, being out on the land, in as many ways as we can have people engage. And so if you change the slide. So beyond farming, this is our 4 pillars that we kind of operate within. And so that's build, grow, cook, heal. And all of these pieces come together for us, and we think are key components to, for our shifts and having changes in our food system, and for our collective liberation. We think all of these pieces kind of make up that goal that we have. And so all of these pieces also are kind of a way that our agritourism shows up. So when we talk about building, we're thinking about building infrastructure and components for ourselves as farmers, but also other small farmers. And so what that looks like for us is we think about, I'm originally from the South, and I know that these happen everywhere, but one thing that was really big for us was like barn raisings and these kind of community coming together to make things happen quicker, right? Or make things happen in a way that felt really supportive and nourishing. And so some of the work we do in this is we'll have community build days where folks can come and show up on our farm or on a farm of another small farmer, BIPOC farmer usually, that we're supporting to help, whether it's stretch hoop house plastic or learn a new skill or install irrigation or create shade structures, whatever those kind of things is that those farmers need. And so we use those as an opportunity not only to support those farms, but to have some education component around things. Grow is definitely our growing. So we grow lots of culinary and medicinal herbs, mushrooms, and what we call flavor foods. So like the things you think of as you're starting your dish with, your onions, your garlic, shallots, leeks, celery, peppers, carrots, all of those kind of the things that we grow. And then we also grow some small grain and beans. So we grow these things for like our value added products, but also for community and putting in our collective bags and our shares. And so we'll talk a little bit about that next. We also do a lot of cooking, whether that's taking things and making it into value added products, showing our community how to cook and do things with the things we grow. But also we have a mutual aid program that we're a part of where we're taking things from the farm and developing them into meals. And so each week we cook 350 meals in collaboration with other chefs, and we get those farm to table meals out to community members who need them. And then I think about this as in the culmination of all of these things. But heal, we think about having the farm as a space that people can come to and it feel accessible for folks. And so whether that's come and do, hands on the land kind of activities where people get to get their hands in the dirt, they get to just come there and rest and relax. All of these things to us feel like very nourishing. And so that's one of our pillars. So here there's a person at the farm holding a big thing of amaranth or callaloo. And so that is, one of our pieces. So if you can go to the next one. So this is our collaborative harvest bag. So this is our BIPOC harvest bag, and this is our signature item. And so we take things we grow as well as other BIPOC farmer and producers and things that they grow and they make, and we put it into a bag. And that's like our CSA bag. And so people can subscribe to it. They can buy it one off, whatever thing they need. But we treat this like our CSA, except we're not growing 100% of what's in it. We also are getting that from other local farmers that we get to support as well. So a lot of the work we do, we are trying to do that in collaboration with our local farmers, local producers, and how we can kind of strengthen each other as we go along. So if you can go to the next slide. So getting into agritourism and the pieces that I want to talk about is, so I'm so excited to be invited and a part of this panel. And our agritourism is kind of at a various stage, right? Like we both have been engaging in agritourism, but we just have been on the past 3 seasons, we've been on an incubator farm. And so what that has meant for us is that we've been growing on a little less than 1/4 of an acre of land on someone else's land that was managed by a nonprofit, and they have about 7 or 8 acres of the land here in the city of Chicago. And so there are a lot of things that we could and we could not do as being a part of an incubator. So some of those things I will talk about is from, farms that I've worked on, including that farm and other farms that we used to do for agritourism. And some of it is things that we have been able to do under Fresher Together as agritourism, as well as things that we're dreaming about doing starting this season, because we're expanding now to our own land. And we'll have about 5 acres of land, maybe about 4 of them that'll be able to be in production. So here is, thank you. So here is some of the things that we've kind of seen and experienced over the years as far as agritourism. Here is a little picture of a goat. This is not the best picture of the goat. There are several goats on the farm I've been incubating on for the past 3 seasons and worked on before that. But this goat is a huge attraction along with all the other goats. And this is a big part of people coming out. Before the pandemic, on that land, there would be things like goat yoga. There were, dinners, all the different types of stuff. Also, I've experienced agritourism as weddings on farms that I've worked on before. There's always farm tours on the land we've been on for the past 3 seasons, where that comes with, sometimes there's space for free farm tours, but sometimes there's groups and things like that where they're paying $10 or whatever it is, a flat fee to be able to come on a farm tour. We've done tourism and photography. So there's some pictures that I think will come up soon of us in a sunflower field, where there's some pictures from Fresher Together folks there. Definitely dinners on this farm, same farm where I've been incubating. We've had farm to table dinners. And then we weren't allowed to have certain programming on site. So on other community gardens and farms, we've been able to have pizza nights where we take local bread, local flour, and make it into pizza dough, and then have the pizza oven outside where we can bake it off, top it with all types of herbs and ingredients, and people just socialize and be out for kind of a pizza night. So those are some things that have been happening pre us having our own land, as well as from other farms. And here's some things that we've kind of been up to as Fresher Together, and some of the things that we're going to grow out more. So one of the things we're looking forward to incorporating at our new land is our farm stays. And so camping is going to be super exciting. Where we are is about an hour or so south of the city. It's really full of nature and bird watching and beautiful fishing and all types of beautiful things. And so people kind of camping on our farm also opens up them being near trails and hiking and everything. One thing we used to always do is have folks come on the farm to work or to experience the farm. And we got this from folks who were working on the farm around a date night. They were really excited to have farms be their like dating experience, and having to work on a task or plan a bed or weed together. So we're excited to formalize date nights and having some refreshments and different things to go along with them. But we've had multiple date nights at our incubator farm. We're looking forward to having retreats. We've also done build days. I'll show some pictures from that and tell you about our community build days, where we've been able to help a farm put up their wash pack station. And then so folks are getting experience and learning and being able to contribute financially toward those. The thing we're looking forward to the most, now that we have permanent land where we can do this, is our farm to table brunch. So I've definitely done lots of farm to table dinners, but I love cooking breakfast. I love eating breakfast. I love all the pieces that go into brunch and breakfast. And so we're dreaming about our farm to table brunch and having that as a part of our season where folks can come out and go to. But we've also used the space both at the incubator, and we will be doing this more moving forward as a team building activity. And so, people go out from companies and church groups and all types of things, and youth spaces like ropes courses and all of those. But we found that farming is a great team building also activity. And so whether it's like plant a bed or prepare something or weed or, whatever there is that needs to be done on the farm that day, groups of folks coming out, you charging them a flat fee or per person or whichever way makes sense for your farm, team building. Also, we've done tours. We're looking forward to being able to have a farm store. We talked about the pizza nights, but we're also looking into growing more small grain and corn. And so we're really excited about popcorn movie nights and having some of the popcorn that we grow, being in the mix of having people just come out, be on the land and do that. And then one thing that we do every year is we have a Halloween garlic planting. And so we encourage people to come out in costumes. There's hot apple cider and snacks, and people are able to like help us get in our garlic for the season and shallots and things like that. Also photography workshops where people get to learn something that's farm-based. And then we've been framing this as farm fitness. So for the past 3 seasons, we've been doing everything very small, human scale, no tractor, no walk behind. And so we grow in the city where the soil has been pretty contaminated over the years. So we bring in a lot of compost. And so we'll have 40 yards at a time. And how we move that is shoveling it into wheelbarrows and hauling it across the land to pour out. And so we love to be like, hey, does anybody need a workout today? Come support the farm. Here's this farm fitness activity. And use that as one of our activities as how people can be on the land, engage, and be able to financially support at the level they feel comfortable. So if we can go ahead, I think I just have some pictures. So here, this first one, everybody's high-fiving. This is at a farm here called Cedillo's Fresh Produce. One of our community build days we did on her farm. And so this is a team utilizing things she had around to help make her wash pack tables. And so they're, in a hoop house helping make wash pack tables. This middle picture is a group who came out to just kind of like a team building, work on the land, get some, experience in. And one of the things we're looking forward to doing on our new land is having a place where people can take pictures. And so you go to events or fundraisers or anything like that, they always have these like step and repeat kind of things. And so we found that to be super popular, is that people would take pictures of this bus that was an old mobile market every time they came out to the farm, or if we had an event at the farm, people would love to take a picture in front of this kind of graffiti bus. And so that's something that we're going to incorporate this year at the new land as we build out, is some place, a mural, something beautiful that'll always be a space where people would want to take a picture in front of. And then this last picture is also another group who came out as a team. I think they're from a small nonprofit, and they helped us plant our lavender the first season. And so you can go to the next one. And then these are some pictures of just kind of, we like to call this kind of piece of our work is this restorative way to connect with the land, restorative experiences on the land. As we grow it out, it'll kind of be the same space that we hold our retreats in, or farm stays where people can come out and they can rest or get their hands in the dirt and kind of have that like farmer experience that they're kind of looking for. And so these are just some other pictures from that. Also kind of coincided with things that we grow. Our friend Molly from a different farm was growing sunflowers for a contract for, I think, a sunflower oil contract. And at some point, the sunflowers were beautiful. And so another way of kind of engaging agritourism and bringing in some money is like that partnership with a photographer, or maybe just letting people come out for a certain amount of money so they can take their pictures and get all these beautiful nature pictures in a crop you're already growing. So we're going to be putting in more lavender on our new land. And so we're excited for people to kind of be able to come out, maybe do some pick of some lavender, but also engage it as an opportunity for photography. You can go to the next one. I don't know if I have anything else. So here's just some resources of ways you can get in contact with me, or you can follow us on social media. Here's our next big thing that we're up to is we're having a farm warming. So since we're moving our farm, and this is kind of like a transition year and getting everything set up, one of the ways we're kind of engaging in our agritourism is going to have a big event on our farm. So we're going to have this just like a party. We'll have grills. We're going to have a registry so people can support by, purchasing something off of our registry list to support the farm. And I didn't see the question in the chat, but we're super excited to kind of have this be the beginning. Oh, great. There's a question about managing bookings, reservations, and events, and then taking payments. And so it's different for different ones. Some of these are, there'll be a group of people. And so we have just had that person email, set up that fee, and that one person pay the fee for the whole group. And that's just, just the long way. We've also used Sign Up Genius. I think there's a version of it is free, but if you want to use it in a means of taking payments, you can. You just have to do the paid version. And so that's a way that we could see people wanting to sign up, people wanting to do that, and then you can go through that means. And then some of the other events, I think we've used an Eventbrite or brown paper tickets or one of those kind of things before. I'll think about that more too, what other things we've used and look that up. But yeah, some of the easier ones, there's like colleges want to bring people. So they kind of arrange everything in advance. You get them to sign the waiver and they just pay one fee, and that's just communicated through email. Or we've had other groups kind of similar to that, like who have done it that way. Do I have another slide? Okay, I think that's it. I think I kind of rushed through it. So if there's any questions toward the end, I think there'll be a time where we can talk more. And thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I encourage your questions in the chat, and we'll get to those at the end. Fresh, you had so many cool ideas. I love that dating one. So thank you for sharing all that. You are busy and innovative. So congrats on your Forever Land. That's awesome. And feel free to connect with Fresh on her email there. So next we're going to move into Nikki Carangelo, exciting Letterbox Farm. She's also doing amazing things out in Hudson Valley of New York. So take it away, Nikki.
Hi, thank you so much for that kind introduction. And Fresh, thank you for that awesome presentation. I am now definitely going to put like cool selfie station at the top of my priority list because I love that so much. But yeah, I am Nikki Carangelo from Letterbox Farm. If you go to the next slide, I think I have some little facts about us. So I always just like to give a little context whenever I am sharing information about the farm, just so that folks know where we're at. This way, as you kind of look at the things that we're doing, you see like, what are our resources? How long have we been doing this? And you can, scale up or scale back kind of depending on where you're at in your farm trajectory. I know lots of times things have felt like way too big or too small for the scale of my farm at certain times. So I always like to start with that. So we're a diversified farm in Hudson, New York. So it is a pretty good region for agritourism. We're just outside of a very small, dense city. So we also have like a fair amount, like a pretty good amount of tourism in the area. We are first and foremost, though, a commercial farm. So that is where the majority of our income comes from growing and selling food. So we raise poultry, pork, flowers, herbs, and vegetables. This is our 10th season, our 10th growing season, our 9th year on our land here in Hudson. In 2022, our total revenue for the farm, so just food that we sold, was $350,000, and we did $56,000 in agritourism related income. Obviously, that's gross, that's not profit. This year, our revenue goal is different. We have made some big changes. We staffed way down. So our farm goal is $276,000 and our agritourism goal is $35,000. Right this year, our team is made up of 2 senior partners and 1 junior partner. So we're a lean team of 3 this year. Last year, we had 3 full-time staff in addition to the 3 of us. So we're going from a team of 6 to a team of 3 this year. That picture there is just like, that's kind of a picture of the food and types of things that we do here on the farm. That's a CSA share. Next slide, please. So over the years, I call it like, we basically spent like, we still do it, but we definitely spend the first 5 years on our farm just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. And we did that with the production side of things. Some things stuck, like pastured poultry. Some things did not, like quail eggs. That was not that was not a successful enterprise. So we've done a lot of different things on the farm, and that applies to agritourism enterprises as well. I've kind of categorized the things that we've done into 3 categories. So we've done some heavy lifts, so things that take a lot of work, are fairly high investment, either in money or time, generally both. So those include weddings and fancy farm dinners. We've done some medium lifts, so they require a little bit less time and money, and that those I'll put our Airbnb or short-term rental and community movie nights. And we have done some light lifts, and this is actually, as we move forward, we are really leaning into light lifts, so low pressure, low investment, a little bit lower return, ways to engage with community members and host people on the farm. And that includes our new on-farm like farm stand, and lots of food and beverage pop-ups. So that's kind of where we're going. So next page, please. So weddings, this is definitely the heaviest lift of all of the things that we've done. So we did weddings from 2015 to 2021. We were considered basically what we called a site rental only facility. So in theory, this meant that we were responsible for providing you a nice mowed field, parking, lighted pathways, and yeah, that was it. Parking, lighted pathways, and a nice mowed field. And guests, wedding hosts or event hosts were to provide everything else. So we did not have any indoor space when we were hosting weddings at all. No kitchen facilities, no restroom facilities. All of those things were brought in. So you can kind of see in the picture there, folks would set up a big tent. They rent all the kitchen equipment. They bring in portable restrooms. They bring in potable water, all of those types of things. So it does sound like it's really easy and just a great way to just make money. And it does make some money. Our rental fees originally for the first 2 years were $2,500. And that basically allowed folks to rent the field for 24 hours. We upped it to $5,000 in 2018. With that $5,000, we did include a mandatory 1 week stay in the farmhouse. So basically they had to rent the house for a week. So the rental fee didn't really go up, but our revenue per wedding did, because it guaranteed that the house was rented. Also, it was very hard to rent the house out separately to wedding guests, because nobody really wants to spend a relaxing weekend on the farm with someone else's really loud wedding going on in the field. At its peak, our annual revenue for weddings, we would do 7 or 8 weddings a year. And so we earned about $35,000. The pros are that they're popular. Lots of like farm weddings are really popular. It was easy to book, 7 or 8 weddings a year. Also, you get vendor kickbacks. So the rental company would give us 10% of what, if we had exclusive contracts with the rental facility. So we would get 10% of whatever the rental revenue was, which was really nice. The cons, and the main reason we don't do weddings anymore is it's a lot of coordination. If you're considering hosting weddings on your farm, I can answer just be prepared for, even if you are quote unquote a site rental facility only, it is still just tons of back and forth, because we throw events. Farmers do lots of different things, and we're just generally resourceful people who are used to I don't know, planning ahead and things like that. Most people are not that great at building a whole event in the middle of a field. They don't know what generators they need. They don't know and so while it's technically wouldn't be our responsibility, we end up facilitating a lot of that, because at the end of the day, one, I'm just a person who gets really invested in somebody having a successful wedding, and two, a poorly executed event, whether or not it falls under our purview of responsibility, it reflects on the farm. People don't know that we're not responsible for the catering, we're not responsible for the electricity, we're not responsible for any of those things. And so it ended up being in our best interest to answer these questions as they came up, to ensure that an event went smoothly. Otherwise, we ended up with lots of trouble, the day of that. We kind of ended up doing the work anyways. The other thing is you have to give lots of tours. So if you're going to book 8 weddings, you're going to probably answer, 200 emails and give, 30 or 40 tours. Working with weddings can be very stressful. For me, I think you have to have a personality that can really detach and set really clear boundaries, which it was not necessarily. I loved my wedding so much, and it was such a great day for me, that I would really get wrapped up in wanting even strangers I didn't know to just have a great day. And so I would end up personally taking on a lot more responsibility than we should have. The other thing for us, and this was really the kicker, is just the increase in severe weather events started to make hosting weddings on our farm untenable without huge infrastructure investments. It was just getting, with more incidents of severe sudden weather, without having an indoor backup plan, I started to just feel like maybe it wasn't the type of place I would book for my own wedding. And so it became even though people wanted to book weddings with us. Oh, I'm sorry. Was somebody saying something? Oh, okay. Even though, lots of people, the demand is still really, really high. I started to feel a little bit of reservations where if the weather was really bad, which we've been getting, terrible weather, a few times throughout the year, your wedding could be canceled because we wouldn't have another place to put it. So we decided to get out while everything, before we kind of ran into anything that was in case something terrible happened. We had only good experiences, and we wanted to end on a high. There is a link to our old event page. If Sadie, if you want to click on that, just to show, if folks are curious what weddings with no infrastructure with just a farm with a pretty view look like. So you can scroll down, and there's some professional photos of people's weddings. Folks can go click on this and click around themselves. But there's some pretty good pictures of what the setup would look like. Again, there's not much there. Everything gets brought in, so you can, even if you don't have much infrastructure, if you're willing to kind of take the risk with the weather, I'm sure people could host some beautiful weddings on your land. Okay, so we can go to the next page. Okay, so fancy farm dinners. So we've done 2 of these. We did one in 2015, and we did another in 2016. The average revenue for a fancy farm dinner would be about $20,000. So examples, if we would have 150 guests at $150 each, but the profit would actually not be particularly high. So on one of them, we made $7,500 profit. On the other one, we only made $2,000 after all of our expenses. The pros are that they're extremely fun. I do not regret hosting either of these events. They were super, super fun. They're great PR. We got so much. The first one that we had in was actually 2014, not 2015. It was our first season, and it really set the tone. It was almost like a kickoff party. Like, it was well attended and very much enjoyed, and it brought a lot of attention to our farm. People still talk about it. We ended up on like the front page of our regional edible magazine. We had tons of beautiful photos from professional photographers. By the way, if you ever host any events and you want to know who to comp some tickets to, definitely comp tickets to professional photographers, because getting some really good photos, they pay for themselves a million times over. So the cons are, they are so much work. It is, I mean, for us, it is, everybody wants you to host these farm dinners, but when it comes time to like actually pay $150 for a ticket and commit and whatever, it's kind of a slog to make sure that you sell out. They're really expensive for us to put on, because again, we have to rent all the kitchen facilities, we have to rent generators, we don't have any of that stuff on site. And ours have relied on a lot of volunteer labor. So had we paid servers or chefs, or like had we paid for half of the labor that went into these events, we would have for sure lost money. But we've learned a lot. I think that there are ways to make these farm dinners profitable. We definitely spent way more money than we had to, and we definitely had much more expensive menus. We had open bars at both of ours, which like we didn't need to do, and I see that most farms don't. So I think there are ways to make a lot more money, but you wouldn't be throwing as good of a party. So I don't know, we just leaned into throwing 2 really good parties, but we will probably not be in the fancy farm dinner business moving forward. All right, next slide, please. Short-term rental, Airbnb. So that's a picture of our farmhouse. It was built in 1890. We rented out on Airbnb since 2016. I'm speaking to you from that house right now, actually. Our annual revenue, it has kind of changed over the years. So I just gave you the last 3 years. In 2020, it was quite high. It was $45,000, then even higher in 2021 to 49. In 2022, definitely cooling off as people start traveling internationally and things like that again. And this year, I'm actually anticipating quite a drop. It seems to be renting less. So we'll probably come in around $35,000 this year. It is a 5-bedroom farmhouse, so it can sleep 10 people. And so we rent it out for $350 to $400 a night. The pros of this is that it's really easy to run once you have it set up. So once you have your platform and you have some good reviews, you can it's just a rinse, wash, repeat. You know, we have a great cleaner who comes in and she turns the house over. She's really good. We have, multiple sets of sheets so that it's really efficient to get the house turned over. We have everything on Airbnb. I almost never communicate with any guests. It's all set up on auto messages. So it looks like I'm, welcoming them to the farm. It looks like I'm giving them a really custom orientation, but really it's just a robot pretending to be me. It is also great because we get to use the house for other things when it's not rented. So we can host friends and family here. We can host community gatherings, stuff like that, which is really nice, as opposed to if we were renting it out full time to a family or a group of tenants. It's also a bit lower risk than long-term rentals because if somebody is a bad guest, they're only here for maybe a week maximum, and then they're gone. So that is helpful, although it would make more money. Oh, the cons are it's unpredictable revenue due to the algorithm changes that are out of your control, and that seems to be what's happening to us this year. Something changed where suddenly, we used to get about 1,000 views a month, and we used to show up on page 1 or 2 when you looked for a Hudson, New York rental. Now we're getting about 300 or 400 views a month, and we're showing up on page 13 or 14. And that just I mean, maybe if you're like an Airbnb algorithm whiz, you could fix that. If I'll take any advice anyone has. So obviously, changes to the platform are just out of your control because you're using, you're really relying on another company to host, your rental. The other thing is you're carrying all the utilities and expenses throughout the year, as opposed to if you rent it out to a long-term tenant, they would then be paying their own electric and internet and heat, or we carry all of those expenses. So actually this house, if we were just looking at profit, would actually be much more profitable as a long-term rental than it is for us as a short-term rental. But we really enjoy having the house to use. And we also, my family and I live on the farm in a separate house. So that is very, very small. So it is nice. Like we're interested in keeping the house open for other personal reasons. Okay, next slide, please. Community movie nights. So this is like my baby. I love this. We did this, it had been on my dream list for, I think, since we opened the farm. And it is just where we rent this really big giant movie screen that doesn't look that big in this picture, but I swear it's really big. It's just in front of mountains that are even bigger. And we asked, starting in like March or April, we basically did a kind of bracket. We took nominations of what movies to show from community members, and then we did a bracket style, so they would vote and narrow down, and then they picked the movie. So we knew we were going to show things that our community members wanted to see. And the reason we did this is because our region has become, because it's so tourism heavy and it's a lot of tourists coming up from New York City, it really, like, downtown Hudson has gotten really, really expensive, and there's not a lot of affordable fun for people who live in the area full time, because it's just one of those economies now, sort of like stadium pricing for everything, like $14 margaritas and whatever. So we really wanted to provide something that was missing in our community. And so it was really important to us that we really wanted to figure out how to make it free. So the annual revenue for our community movie nights is $0. These are free community events, but our annual expenses for this event is also $0, because we sold advertisements to local businesses to play on the screens before the movie would play. So that paid for the rentals, it paid for the labor and everything, literally everything, the handicap porta potty rental, all of that stuff was paid for through ad sales. And we had average attendance of over 100 people. We did 5 of these. We did them we did twice a month through July, August, and September. But they only ended up being 5, so it wasn't quite twice a month. No, July, August, and then we did 1 in September. Sorry. The pros is that it was so fun. These were the funnest things we did last summer, highlight of the year for sure. We built a ton of community support and goodwill. And we did actually make some money because we increased farm stand sales quite a bit during the time of the event, and also for about the weeks after the events. Actually, people came back. And we also made revenue through concessions. So we did pull beer and wine permits for each of these events, which allowed us to sell beer, wine, and cider. I don't know if it varies in different states, but we're able to pull temporary licenses in New York State. And we also sold food. We made, burgers, different food items each time too. So that was a lot of fun. The cons were working with the movie rental company, so we didn't have quite as much control over event scheduling as we would have liked. So that was the one really challenging. That was the one, it wasn't even particularly challenging. That was just the only downside. Next slide, please. These are just some photos of the community movie nights. Popcorn maker. The middle kind of shows just what those were the nights that we did it and how we advertised it. People brought their own chairs and blankets. We didn't have to worry about seating. We also chose movie nights as a community event because we have no shade on our farm. And so it's really hard to host large groups of people during the day in the summer because it's very uncomfortable in the sun. So this event was really nice because we didn't have to come up with a shade solution because it was taking place after dark. Okay, next slide, please. Our farm stand. So this is active. We opened our first on-farm stand in 2021. We did $50,000 worth of sales through this humble, very, very humble farm stand last year, which was great. Our hours were really weird and limited because it's very hard to staff and run the farm and do all the other things that we're doing at the same time. So we were only open for 4 hours on Fridays and 6 hours on Saturdays, basically stacking it with our CSA pickup times. But folks could order online and pick up 7 days a week. This year we building an indoor self-serve farm stand that'll be open 7 days a week. Last year we just put the stand in a 20 by 20 commercial tent on a gravel pad. This year we're building an indoor farm stand and we're going to be using the tent now for pop-ups and events instead. Next slide, please. Oh, those are some pictures. So if you can see on the right, that's the 20 by 20 tent on the gravel pad. So that's what it looks like with nothing in it. And that's the space, the barn that you see behind it. That's where our new self-serve farm stand is going to be. Next slide. And so the other low lift thing that we do is food and beverage pop-ups. So we started doing these last year, and this is really the direction that we're going in. So our profit after expenses last year, which we really were just trying to break even. So I was pretty surprised that we made anything, but we did clear after all of our expenses and purchasing, quote unquote, purchasing our own product to use in the food stands. We cleared in $4,000 in addition to the profit we made on, selling our own products to ourselves. The pros, reason I love these events after being in weddings for so long is they are low pressure, low expectation way to engage with folks and to encourage them to linger on the farm. I find that the more time people spend on the farm, the more they like the farm and the more that they are willing to support us in when times are good and when times are bad and maybe we need folks to come reskin a greenhouse or some type of emergency. It's also a good way to value add. So it's a good way to take a sausage patty that is worth $10 a pound or so like whatever $2.50 and make it something that's worth $5 instead because you just throw it on the grill and put it on a bun. The cons are licensing and permitting can be a little bit challenging. We did have to find a commercial kitchen and get a 20C license there so that we can do our food prep there. Depending on what you're doing, you may not have to do that. And then in the town, sometimes depending on where you live, they can be a little iffy about what they will and won't let you do. So I can answer any questions that folks might have about that. And then my hot tip, again, I already said this about the movie nights, but pulling temporary beer, wine, and cider permits so that you can sell alcohol. In New York, you can pull 4 or more of those per year per address. They cost $35. They're really easy. And that's pretty, people really enjoy that. Next slide, please. And those are just some pictures. So the picture in the middle, that's us. That's Jay, one of our crew members last year. He is making smash burgers on the grill. The left side is we actually, this is when we were throwing spaghetti at the wall. We used to have a line of farm sodas. So we have all this, we would make soda syrup and sell farm sodas at farmers markets. This year we dusted off all the kegs and we brought it back to life. So that's what that is. On the right, that is just showing that we're now hosting, because we have scaled back our staffing this year. We're leaning more into partnering with other folks to pop up in the space so that we don't have to do it ourselves, but we still get to have all the benefits. So we actually now are renting out the tent, kind of like farmers market style, to different vendors for 40 or 50 bucks a day, and so that they can use it. Okay, next slide. Oh, okay. So this is our future. So we, like in our dreams, I would like to have a weekly farm social. So basically like a farm bar, where we have live music, and food, and something that happens just for 3 or 4 hours, like from 5 to 8 p.m. once a week, something that's really easy to set up and break down. And I'd like it to be weekly because I find it's really a lot easier to advertise for something that's a rolling event as opposed to one-offs. You really have to do a really big push to make sure people know about something. Whereas if something's happening every Thursday, then
Nikki, I think we lost your audio.
oh shoot.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, can you hear me? I don't know. Where did I tune out?
Every Thursday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, every Thursday we want to do like a farm social. We also have a U-pick garden on our farm that's flowers and herbs. It's always been just for CSA members, but we're looking to scale that up. So we haven't sold any. I don't have any paid U-pick experience yet, but that's where we're hopefully headed. And then we'd like to switch from movies to live music just because it's a little bit easier and it ends earlier, especially in like July when you can't start a movie till like 9:15 at night, and then we're up till like midnight. So I think that's my last slide. Yes, that's it. Thank you guys. Sorry for talking so much.
Those were great. Thank you for all that. And thanks for sharing those hard lessons learned. I think that's really helpful for everybody here. I don't know
absolutely.
don't know where y'all are finding time to also farm. So this is amazing. All right, Devon, Urban Garden, Michigan. Tell us about your place.
Hello, yeah. So thank you very much. My name is Devon Wilson, and yeah, like you said, we're an urban farm here in Battle Creek, Michigan, Cereal City. And so essentially we're a 2-acre urban farm in the heart of Battle Creek, Michigan. That's a kind of a bird's eye view of our farm right there. And our mission statement is to increase access to local food and inspire future farmers, inspiring and equipping the next generation of farmers. It's pretty important to us. And so some of the activities that we do on the farm include obviously growing our produce and wholesaling our wholesaling to restaurants, nonprofits, and then also selling direct to consumers. And we're getting more into that. We're actually that you can see on the picture, there's a brick building in front of the hoop houses, and that is going to be our farm stand. So we're really excited to offer that to our community. Along with that, we are interested in we're already doing composting, but we actually have a USDA partnership to create a composting facility.
Is there a short way for me to get to lighting?
Oh, I think you're off of mute, and that's something. Our goal with composting is to be more sustainable and to obviously be able to create as many of the inputs that we're using on the farm. Just trying to be more sustainable and a little bit more conscious about that. Like I think Fresh was saying, when you're in an urban environment, you have to be very cautious about your soil, make sure you do your testing. And we as well bring in a lot of compost. So that's kind of our thought process is let's make some of the compost on the farm and then also be able to offer it to our community. We kind of dreaming of being able to sell potting soil and selling our own compost mix to the community. So kind of eliminating that barrier to get into growing your own food and having a resource right in the community to get soil and things like that, I think would be really cool. We're also, so when we talk about utilizing your land and your farm to the best ability, I think your online presence has a lot to do with that as well. So we are moving pretty heavily into doing a lot of content creation. So far, it's been a lot, I would say, focused on Instagram mainly, doing reels and things like that, like short form videos, kind of promoting what we do. And now we're moving more into doing YouTube content, so longer form videos. Even our blog, a lot of times we'll do a blog post and then make a video about that blog post. And I think it's just a really great way to kind of double down what you're doing on the farm, and I guess making the things that you're doing the most profitable for you. So for example, when you're farming, you're already seeding, and you're doing all of these activities that require pretty specialized knowledge and things that a lot of people might not know off top. So if you can turn that into a video when you're already doing that as a daily task, that is just a way to really create some leverage for yourself, because when you put that video out, that video is going to be online forever, and people can always look that up. And eventually, once you build some traction, you can start to profit off of those videos and things like that. And so, yeah, we'll get a little bit more into that, I think, later in the slides. But yeah, and then finally, obviously, kind of what we're talking about today is agritourism. So I think with agritourism, we are new into this space, but we're really excited. We've had a couple events that have been really successful. And so, yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But I thought I'd quickly go over our history, just to give you a kind of glimpse. So this is an old picture of like the first farmers market, one of the first markets we ever did. And so basically we started just doing farmers markets with side land, side lots that, we were either kind of doing a work trade for some of our friends. We would grow food in their side lot, take a lot of it to market, and then break them off a couple pounds every week. And really we're just kind of bootstrapping it. We had a partnership with a flower farm that let us use it was probably about a quarter of an acre to grow some things. And then in 2020, we bought our land. Prior to that, I went to Michigan State University, their organic farmer training program, made a lot of great connections and learned a lot of business and farming skills. And yeah, so that, we bought our land in 2020. And currently right now we have 2 part-time employees that actually started off as volunteers. And I talk a little bit more about that later in the slides, but that's a pretty important thing. All right, so being creative and resourceful is key, for us. So we think that, like going back to the content creation, it's like if you can make the most of what you're doing on the farm. This farming is a kind of a interesting thing that we do, right? It's a hot topic in a way. People want to know what goes into it, and so if you can, and it's really not that hard to just pick up. I mean, a lot of us have, phones with really good cameras now. And if you can just, really document what you're doing and turn it into a easily digestible piece of content that's straight to the point, it's a really great way to just kind of build that online community. And so for us, online community is so important because obviously when we're trying to do agritourism events and promote and things like that, we have, an audience that we have built that we can instantly promote things to, hopefully sell some tickets, and as well as just get information to our community as well. So on top of that, I think another thing about being resourceful is being intentional about partnerships and collaborations. I think there's so many businesses that are always looking for ways to get involved with the community, even donate money to different projects and initiatives that are going on, or send volunteers out to help with projects. So, I mean, for us, this has honestly been, we found a lot of success in working with organizations, anything from nonprofits to businesses, small or large businesses. And this is just something really great to, build that connection with your customers, gain new customers, and just kind of create these partnerships that, and network that is going to help your farm succeed, I believe. So another thing that, we are very interested in is building community, bring community together through fresh and local food, helping our community build their relationship with food. I think a big barrier in eating healthy and, people kind of getting more into eating vegetables and things like that is education barrier, right? It's like, I got this kale and this bag of onions. What do I do with it? How do I make it taste delicious? And so that's kind of what a lot of our agritourism is based on, is really just bringing the community together, having fun, and helping people build that relationship with their food, and offering them experiences to really, and I want to say that again, like, allow them to build that relationship, because I kind of believe you can't really force anyone to do anything. You kind of just have to, I think you can present things to people and allow them to make decisions. And so it's really cool to host these events where people are, really exploring different food options and kind of opening their mind to some of the possibilities and things that you can do with healthy food, right? And yeah, so that's kind of, our fun events, our educational demos and workshops, cooking demos, soil workshops, all that stuff is really important. And yeah, and like I was kind of saying, just making it easier to eat healthy. So with our farm store, we're calling it like a healthy corner store, and probably around the same size as Nikki's. I think she was saying she has that kind of small tent, and that's around the same size we're working with, something small. But the idea is like, we're in a very urban environment. There's a liquor store almost on every corner. So we want to have a corner store that is still providing drinks, snacks, along with some of the more staple groceries, but having everything be a little bit on the healthier side, right? So our drinks will have cane sugar, real sugar, instead of high fructose corn syrup. Our snacks will be more whole ingredients rather than things with a lot of preservatives and things like that. So just trying to have something in the community that is serving our community, but also providing healthier options. And yeah, accepting food assistance is a huge part of that, because where we are, a lot of people are on food assistance. And I think it is important, to have options where they can spend that food assistance on food that is actually good and healthy for them, and increasing their energy levels, making their life better in general. And so, yeah, and then the other thing is kind of in these pictures, on the left picture is we do a lot of school, farm to school activities too. And this is a part of, that community outreach, and as well as our mission of kind of, inspiring the next generation of farmers, showing them that, hey, farming is a career. And I was surprised by how excited kids get about growing food and seeds and soil and all the bugs and stuff in the soil. I think if you can introduce this to the youth at a young age, it really opens their mind to what it takes to, grow food, and just give them a little understanding about the food system in general. Because I think when, a lot of us are probably in this industry and in these, kind of rooms every day, we're thinking about this stuff. But the average person, honestly, they don't have a lot of, exposure to growing food, how food comes from, field to plate. I think a lot of kids, they just go to the grocery store with their mom and get things off the shelves, and they don't really think much past that. So it's really cool for us to be able to do these kind of programs as well. So we can go to the next slide, Sadie. So before we get into agritourism a little more, I did want to talk about volunteering, because this is almost kind of fits into agritourism, right? So like I was saying, businesses are always looking for volunteer opportunities, and it's a great way to have networking on the farm. Honestly, I've kind of over the years became better at managing groups of volunteers. It can be stressful, but I think if you take the time to plan everything out and have really good activities that groups can knock out, you can do a ton of work in a small period of time. We had 100 volunteers from Kellogg's, and that's the picture where everyone's in the blue shirt. And I mean, this day, I think we got more done than we ever have in a single day on the farm, easily. And also, you know, so that group was from Kellogg's cereal company. And so the relationship we've built with Kellogg's has been really amazing. Like, just from people come, and it all started with just people coming and volunteering on the farm. But it turned into, you know, us meeting the head of graphics at Kellogg's and her wanting to help us out with our website and help us out with some things that were going on. Us, you know, just building relationships with people at Kellogg's and them sending out different groups of volunteers from different departments and things like that. We've worked with Duncan Aviation, which is it's actually a company that they build private jets from the ground up. And they've had interest in coming out and volunteering at the farm. We're working this year with a mobile cloud, like mobile security and cloud company that has just, you know, reached out through our website actually and wanted to volunteer. And I think that is because we have had a lot of volunteer opportunities and we post about them. So people kind of are, you know, wanting to get involved. And I say those specific businesses to say, you know, don't think you have to just hit up like, you know, family farm and home because it's a farming related thing. I think you can, you know, even banks, restaurants, I mean, really any business that is looking to get out into the community, I would say, you know, go for it or put yourself out there and let people know that you provide these experiences, because it's just a really great way to do networking and kind of increase your presence as well. And create new customers. You know, I mean, when we open the farm store, I'm really excited because we've always had volunteers come out to the farm and they want to buy some produce. They might want to buy a t-shirt or a hat to support the farm as well. So it's just a really good way to, like I said, increase that exposure. Another thing is it can also be a great way to find employees. So it's kind of hard to see in these pictures, but the guy in the hat standing by the bobcat, and then the guy on the left side of the Sunlight Gardens little sign right there. Those are our two employees. So essentially, they just both reached out to me and said, "Hey, I want to learn how to farm. I like what you're doing. I would love to just help you out." And so for a whole season, we just worked, you know, I think a couple times a week for a couple hours at a time, nothing crazy. But it was consistently for about, you know, the whole summer, like 3-4 months throughout the year. And it allowed us to give them experience working on the farm. They got to know and see if this is something that they actually wanted to do. And for me, it was just a no-brainer because I had these people who were already interested in obviously working for free. So when the time came around, we had scaled up a little bit, had the opportunity to bring on some employees. Like I said, it was a no-brainer to hire these two guys because they showed that passion, they showed the drive to want to help us out. And since then, like I said, we've had numerous of our volunteers just, you know, inquire, "Hey, are you guys hiring? Do you guys have any part-time positions in the summer?" And so, you know, farm work can be demanding on your body and things like that. So I think it's really cool to kind of allow people to first, you know, get that, if you want to call it an internship or just volunteer experience first, so you can know if you guys if you work well together, all those kind of things. And another thing that's on here is we just do offer kind of a veggie work trade. So we have a lot of people that do want to volunteer. Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. So what we like to do is just kind of like create days and when a lot of people can come out. And then also another reason that we sometimes try to offer, and so let me kind of clarify, because we don't always, like, we didn't give all these hundreds of people vegetables, right? But sometimes since being an urban farm, people have confusion sometimes. They might think it's a community garden. They might think they can just come up and pick everything themselves. And so there's a little bit of education we have to do and say, "Hey, this is a for-profit business. You know, we are intentionally creating something sustainable so we can, you know, hire employees and have a long-lasting impact. But happy to, allow you to come and work on the farm for a little bit and give you some produce for doing that. I think that's just a really cool thing to do to help people kind of feel connected to what's going on and kind of be mutually beneficial for them and the farm. Hit the next slide. So yeah, I got a video of event that we had. Actually, I think the first year we had the farm, second year we had the farm. And this is this is just a quick video. You can go ahead and play this, Sadie, really quickly, and then I'll talk about it.
So positive. B-star. Yeah. You know when you get that good food, it's that farmer's, that fresh. Hold up, let me tell it, it's that farmer's market fresh. Hold up, it's that fresh, it's that farmer's market fresh. I swear when I eat it now, I can't catch my breath. Hold up, it's that fresh, it's that farmer's market fresh. I swear I'm not eating and I can't catch my breath. Hold up, it's that fresh, it's that farmer's market fresh. I swear when I eat it, yeah, I can't catch my breath. It's that fresh, it's that farmer's market fresh. I swear when I eat it, man, I can't catch my breath. Yeah, it's that fresh, it's that farmer's market.
But yeah, that's the flyer. That's that was the flyer with it. And so yeah, in that video, you can kind of see there's a lot of things going on. But we had a bounce house, we had multiple people, different vendors and restaurants coming out. We had music performers, we had cooking demos, we had live, we had like a cooking demo that taught people how to feed a whole family in a crock pot for $10, like $10. We allow members of our local city government come out and kind of have an address to the community. And we also did a giveaway where we gave away crock pots, wok sets, and things to make cooking easier for people. So yeah, that's kind of, so some of the examples, well, obviously, so that was our block party is what we called that. And there was cooking demos and that. And so I guess, honestly, when we threw that event, we kind of just pulled it together. It was something I wanted to do for a long time. We saw the success of it and it got really excited. So we're like, okay, let's actually invest into, and this is before I even had ever heard the word agritourism, actually. And so I'm like, well, let's invest into doing more of these kind of events. And so, yeah, and so moving into the future, things that we're looking to do are, educational workshops, weddings, vegetable cook-offs. Like we're going to do a collard green cook-off. That's a really popular item in our community. Farm to table dinners, kind of like what our previous speakers talked about, just really nice dinners. And business retreats. Like I said, we have these Kellogg's volunteers come out to the farm already. It's easy to then move into possibly selling them a business retreat on the farm. They know the farm, they like it, come back and have your business meeting here. And then just, collaborations with other businesses and nonprofits, whether it's, promoting different programs or what have you. And so, as we're thinking about doing some of these different programming things, thinking about important agritourism infrastructure. And so what we're actually in the middle of building a lot of this out right now. So bathrooms, a shaded area, just a pavilion, access to power, tables and chairs, obviously, and then a stage if you're going to be doing like presenting or music and things like that. So yeah, I just thought that might be a little helpful to add in some of those infrastructure items. And yeah, I think that kind of brings us to the end of the slide. And so yeah, I have my website and Instagram, Facebook, YouTube on there. So you can feel free to check those out. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Dang, Devon, that was awesome. Equally impressive. I love that you centered community in all this because agritourism is about diversifying your income streams on the farm, but you guys are like making community at each of these farms. So super inspiring. Thank you, you guys. We had a lot of questions come through chat and through the pre-registration. We've got about 15 minutes left, so I encourage folks to, if you would like, take yourself off mute and ask questions, share your screen again, so we can see y'all if you want. But I did want to call out two questions that are definitely like the most asked that are coming through those through chat. One is about advertising. How are y'all advertising your whether you're getting volunteers or your events? And then the other one is really about liability insurance, permits, like things in zoning, things around that nature. So maybe let's, for sake of time, take that latter one, the zoning and permits, if anybody wants to grab those.
I can speak to that because I've dealt with it a lot of times. So it's going to vary in my experience, like, and especially talking to other farms that are just like 1 or 2 towns over from me, like some people are in regions or in towns with much more encouraging building inspectors and just in town boards that are really excited to help you get to a yes. Other people are in a town like mine where they're a little bit more excited to show up and kind of wonder how they can say no. So hopefully you're in the former type of town. I find that for larger events that you I'm a little bit of a do and then say you're sorry later type of person. But with larger events like the weddings, we did have to go through a formal zoning process with the town where we had to advertise, we had to have town meetings that were open to objections from our neighbors. We did have to pay lawyer fees on behalf of the town, which ended up costing $1,500. We had to put forth a formal proposal, including mapping of where everything would take place, fire exits and things like that. So that was the very first agritourism enterprise we took on, which was probably for the best because it really set us up to cruise through the permissions for everything else that we did. When it comes to food pop-ups and stuff like that, typically you just have to get a temporary food service permit from your health department, typically. If you are going to be doing something that requires like a lot of offsite food preparation, you'll need to get a 20C license. That's through the Department of Ag and Markets in New York. Again, it could change town to town, but it is, yeah, I have found sometimes our town gets very nervous and they'll sort of assume the worst of everything. So I, at this point, am good at anticipating what they're going to ask me and going in with all of the answers. But I would say be persistent, be really, really nice. You kind of have to suck up to people, which is really very irritating to me, but that's kind of how it's worked in our on our side.
Thanks, Nikki. Stefan, Fresh, similar for you in an urban area?
I'll share a little bit, but I agree with Nikki around that. Ask forgiveness instead of permission sometimes. From the incubator plot, the nonprofit that managed it actually has a lease with the park district. And so like having events and farm to dinner on that meant getting a permit through the park district technically. And so I think because it was layered between the insurance, different levels of insurance that all the entities had, there wasn't any additional insurance, just whatever the insurance was that we all already had that covered having people on the farm. But the permit was through the park district for like the farm to table dinner on that land. The space where I'm moving to, I'm anticipating a lot of not so much formalized steps that there would be to go through. It's like an incorporated township. It's kind of relaxed. So I don't know if my experience for that would mean much. We're just trying to make sure we have whatever the liability insurance we need for the farm to protect ourselves if someone gets hurt or any people on the farm thing. I don't know as far as permits for any of the events that we're going to have out there. We haven't figured that out quite yet. And then, yeah, some of the other things we've done is we've just kind of done them and didn't see if we needed a special permit for them besides the farm to table dinner. And then for food-based things, I have a license. Like there's some stuff that we have insurance that covers it. So yeah.
Cool, thank you.
I do
Any
have
other-
one tip to add, if that's okay, Sadie. If you are pulling permits, I would say one thing that I learned over the years that I wish I had known earlier is to try to pull blanket permits that cover a whole season instead of individual ones. So if you go to the health department or a building inspector or whatever, it's always worth asking, hey, do I have to get this per event or can I get one for the season? And I found out that the answer is almost always that you can just do it one time for the season. And then that saves you answering a bajillion nerve-wracking questions every time you walk into the town hall or wherever you're going.
I add one more thing too, is that I did look into permits around camping, having camping on my land, because there's something about being a campsite and like temporary, like, I don't know, there was a lot of things. So, but I've been looking for that through my county and my township, trying to figure out if there's anything specific about having people be able to camp on the farmland. So.
Yeah, I would say my experience is pretty similar. I think my best piece of advice too would just be to have, if you can, try to create a good relationship with your local city government. And then if you run into anything, you can, if you're doing the method of ask for forgiveness later, maybe don't tell them. Or if you want to just ask them about something, run it by them. And if you build that relationship, usually they'll be pretty cool with you and try to, hopefully they'll want to see you succeed. So that'd be good.
Great, thank you. Anyone have questions from the audience? I can fire another question, but I want to open it up if anybody wants.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I have just built, I had 2 tiny houses that I'm turning into an Airbnb. And this is our first experience doing anything outside of selling at farmers markets or grocery stores. So how do you kind of set boundaries about what is the farm? You know, it's a working farm. It's not like a tourist destination. So do you guys have like a written information that you give people, or how do you get that information across?
I think I'm the only one with the short-term rental here, so I can take this one.
Okay.
Yes, it does take a little bit of trial and error to figure out how to communicate what the boundaries are with your guests. We use a combination of things. One, we do in our auto message that goes out to everybody before they check in. It does. We are a working commercial farm, so there are many areas of our farm that are not set up to have guests in, and that our insurance agent would freak out if we just had people walking through. So we're pretty clear about certain areas that are off limits. So any workspaces, greenhouses, or barns. So we put that in the message. That generally works. People seem to abide by that. But you can also utilize, if that's not getting the message across, we'll just need to put up very clear keep out signs, or whatever, farm workers, farm employees only signs, that they'll be able to see when they're there. So physical signs and information ahead of time. And then when people do kind of accidentally, it's usually unintentional when people break those rules. I always say to them, like, hey, sorry, I wish I could show you around, but my insurance agent, I use them as an excuse to not have to like give impromptu farm tours in the middle of my workday all the time.
Cool. Thanks, Nikki.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too, is I don't want people being like, hey, can we walk around? And we're like, we're right in the middle of market prep. So
yeah, thanks for that question, Vanessa. I think we have time for one more, and it came up so many times. I'd love to bring it up. The advertising in a couple words. Can you all say what are your top ways for advertising to get volunteers or get people at your events?
I would say for us, it is just, really we rely a lot on our social media. Like I was saying, we put energy into creating an audience and community on those. So for us, that is like our portal and our kind of push to just get people at our events. And then we also do, like when we did the block party, we actually went around and had like a little street crew just knocking on doors and handing out flyers as well. That way, we can ensure that the community is aware of what we got going on, because obviously we're right in the middle of a neighborhood, so we want to include people that are around us, and make sure that we're pretty intentional about that. So that's, yeah. And we also have an email list. So whenever we're at farmers markets or tabling at events, we always are collecting emails and compiling those so that we can blast emails out when we want to promote things as well.
Okay, that's helpful.
I definitely second social media and email list. If you're like us back in 2014, throwing your first event when no one knows who you are, and you don't have a social media following, what we did back then was we kind of made like a press release that we would send to local newspapers. We also pull in partners sort of strategically when we will. I mean, we do this still today when we want to get like a really wide reach, but say at a farm dinner before we had any of our own social media following, maybe we would pick, we were going to serve beer from a brewery that has 10,000 followers. So we reach out to them and say, hey, we're going to buy the beer from you. Can we put flyers in your, your brewery? And would you mind giving us like a shout out or like, so strategic partnerships, if you don't have a platform yet, can be a really good way to get eyes and to build the following. And just trying to make sure, like choosing who your vendors are, that way can go a long way.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. I just echoing social media, emails, definitely flyering, and then the amplifying piece of what Nikki was talking about. Even if you are not using their product, but you know other folks who have a ton of followers, or you're inviting them, or you're giving them a comp ticket or whatever it is, and they're going to amplify you, then I would definitely use that.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, lean on the community. Well, I think that at this point we are running out of time, so I'm going to share a couple housekeeping things. There's some reference materials here. We will share the slides with you through email. And then also we have this poll that we would love. It's one question. We would love you to, give us your feedback. And again, wanted to remind you about the CSA Innovation Network Resource Library. There's tons of information. Please go to our website. Contact us if you want to be involved in a deeper way with the network. We're always interested in connecting with more folks. And then our YouTube channel has this and many, many more topics that would probably be of interest to y'all. So thank you so much to our guests. This was super informative, learned a lot. And thanks everybody for tuning in and for your time. Our next CSA Ideas Lab is about customizable CSA shares. We have 3 speakers that are going to speak, so join us on May 23rd for that. Information will go out, but also save the date if you'd like. And Sadie's putting some great links in our chat, and you can get information that way. So thanks again so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and please remember to fill out that quick survey.